The ribbon at the door. Once, every 25 years, a discreet invitation was sent to 12 individuals across the land. Each received the same sealed scroll, bearing only these words: "Bring what pleases the host." No further instruction, no categories, no rubric. But the contest was not obscure. It was known simply as the contest of the crown, and those invited were believed to be the best of the best, masters of craft, knowledge, art, or innovation. Most took the instruction as a riddle. Surely the host, a man of age and mystery, would demand excellence. He had not been seen in public for years, but legends spoke of his wisdom and former glory. Some said he once ruled nations, others whispered of miracles. Whatever the truth, it was clear, this was not a man who could be impressed easily. Each contestant prepared what they believed would please him most. One carved a structure so intricate it could rival palaces. Another composed music so haunting it silenced rooms. One brought volumes of memorized lore and paraded moral philosophies. Each brought their best, sharpened, polished, and poised. But there was one among them who brought something else entirely. She was quiet, a seamstress by trade, not known for speeches or spectacles. When she read the scroll, she paused not just at the words, but at a faint red mark beneath them. A simple loop barely visible, not a signature, not a seal, just a ribbon shaped like a door handle. Most ignored it. She did not. It stirred something in her, a memory. She had seen that ribbon before. Years ago, and more than once. In cold seasons when food had run out, a cloth-wrapped loaf had appeared at her doorstep, tied with that same red ribbon. In a winter of grief, a small stitched handkerchief, warm and simple, had been left on her windowsill. When she had nearly forgotten her own worth, an anonymous note had found her. "You are not unseen." Always paired with a red ribbon. Never announced, but never forgotten. She never knew who had left them, but she had kept the ribbons anyway, not as proof, but as remembrance. Over time, she had knotted them together into a single, quiet braid. She didn't see herself as someone meant for crowns, but when the invitation came and she saw that red loop beneath the words, she knew. She couldn't outshine the others, but she could bring what had been given to her. So she baked one whole, fragrant loaf, warm and round like those left for her long ago. She tied the braid of old ribbons around it, not to show off, not to prove, but because she remembered. The day of the contest arrived. The 12 stood in the great hall, their offerings cloaked, their eyes eager. The host entered without announcement. No crown on his head, no guard at his side, just a quiet presence that seemed to still the air. One by one, the contestants stepped forward. The builders, the scholars, the artists, the idealists. Their offerings were dazzling, heavy with meaning, drenched in effort, each one more brilliant than the last. The host received them all with warmth and patience, but his expression remained unchanged. Then came the final contestant. She did not rush. When her name was called, she hesitated, not out of fear but reverence. This was not a stage to her, it was the place she had once been remembered. She stepped forward and knelt. She unwrapped the loaf, simple, fragrant enough for many. Tied around it was her braid of old ribbons, worn but carefully kept. There was no speech, no flourish, just an offering of quiet gratitude. The host stepped toward her, not the bread, and gently lifted the ribbon. His eyes lingered, softened. Then he tied it around her wrist. Gasps rose from the others. One scoffed, "Bread, that's the winner." Another muttered, "We brought what few in the world could make. She brought what anyone could buy at a corner stall." The host turned to them, his voice steady and low. "You all knew the invitation. Bring what pleases the host. Yet each of you brought what you believed would please me." She brought what she remembered. She received it when it was hidden, when no one else was watching. She remembered what was never announced. He looked back at her, the ribbon now resting around her wrist. "This is not display, it is remembrance. And that pleases me." Then he stepped aside, and the great doors of the hall swung open behind him. Only one may wear the crowns, but all are welcome to feast. Then, for the first time, he called her by name. "Annoth, She had not come to win. She came because she remembered. And in remembering what had once met her in the quiet, she let it echo beyond herself. And the host was pleased. For years, I've carried notebooks filled with half-finished stories, scattered reflections, and ideas that never made it beyond the page. Some of them date back to my childhood. Many were written in seasons when words came faster than I could shape them. I stored them away, hoping that one day I'd return to them, give them form, and finally share them with others. That hope often felt buried beneath the sheer volume of unfinished work. Among those forgotten pages was the seed of this story. I first imagined it nearly 20 years ago while doing the laundry as a teenager. The original draft has long since disappeared, but its heart remained with me. This time, however, writing it felt different. Before I could find the words, I had already lived its meaning. I encountered its beauty long before I understood how to express it. So although the first version of this story was imagined years ago, this is, in many ways, the first time it has truly been written. I'm grateful that, after all these years, it finally found its way to these pages.
The Ribbon at the Door is an original allegory about remembrance, gratitude, and the quiet beauty of responding to a grace that came long before we ever thought to seek it. Perhaps one of the greatest invitations of the gospel is not to impress God, but to remember Him, to recognize that every genuine response of love begins with a love we first received. Sometimes the criteria can make us feel unworthy, only to discover it was never the criteria that made us worthy, but the one who invited us and showed us we already belonged. The more we reflect on Scripture, the more we realize that gratitude isn't merely a response to grace, it is one of its deepest fruits. We remember because we were first remembered. We love because we were first loved. We belong because God welcomed us long before we understood what home truly was. The ones who meet the true criteria are rarely the ones trying to. They're the ones who have been remembered first and then remembered back.